healthy physique, realizing a strong and enlightened mind is gonna be, dare I say, impossible. For years I was trying to figure out my mind. I was doing Buddhist practice, yoga, meditation, fasting. I was even doing fasting to the detriment of my body because I'd learned that that should make you control your mind and have a strong mind. For years I was doing this, and though it did help some, it also created a lot of havoc, as I was mentioning before with the fasting, for example. So I ended up developing IBS, right? A super terrible inflammation in the gut. And it took me on a journey of years to figure out what was wrong with me, because the conventional system couldn't tell me anything. And so I started studying the healing traditions and modern day healers that are known for their work. And after some years, 4 or 5 years, I figured out my gut. That was incredible. Having the energy again to go and pursue my dreams, not suffering from brain fog and all of these things that came with that inflammation in the bowels. But the most astonishing thing that happened to me was that now my spiritual practices started to pay off. Now that I had healed my gut and was robust and strong within my system, doing mental work was as easy as, some shadow work is never easy, right? But centering my mind, becoming strong in my mind, and realizing a higher state of happiness in my general well-being, that became extremely easy now that the happy producing chemicals, the neurotransmitters and the hormones were balanced within my gut, as you will hear more about in this presentation today. And that is the whole point for this presentation. It's that trying to pursue an enlightened and strong mind without taking care of your body first. That's like trying to draw a cat for the first time without a scabulon in front of you, right? It's gonna be extremely hard, and even if you do it, you're gonna have some flaws in it. It's pretty hard to do. And another reason for me to make this presentation here today is because I see that a lot of men out there that I talk to, they are pursuing a spiritual practice. They are pursuing mastery of the mind, and I deeply respect that. But the problem remains that that path is extremely hard to do, and getting the right results on that path is even more hard, if not impossible, if you haven't taken care of your physical health first. Women are better at that, right? They pursue the physical health and not so much the mastery of the mind. And I think it's very clear that it's because the mastery of the mind is a very masculine activity. It's about stillness. It's about emptiness. It's about centering yourself and being alone. That's a very masculine energy. While taking care of the body is about, how you feel, and doing a lot of talking with your friends about what's working, and that's a very feminine discipline. But we need to, as men, we really need to take care of the body first, because if we don't, that path is gonna be so hard and most likely impossible for most of us pursuing it. So I hope you're with me on this, and if you are, then write down in the comment what you think about what I just shared, right? Have you been pursuing a spiritual path? What has your results been? What has the roadblocks been? Have you maybe needed that robustness of the body to go that path with greater success? Or what would it have done to you if you had taken that path first? Or maybe you, on the other hand, took that path first and now have realized how massive effects it has had on your mental well-being. Let me hear your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's go on this journey together. Alright, so the first question might be, simply put, why? Why not? Why can't we create a healthy mind from a toxic and unbalanced body? Well, you probably hear the oxymoron in that question, right? So what does your intuition say? Let me ask it again. Why can't we create a healthy mind from a toxic and unbalanced body? Of course we can't create a healthy mind from a toxic and unbalanced body, right? Because these two parts, they function as a whole. Body and mind are deeply interconnected. As an example, 95% of all the serotonin neurotransmitters are produced in the gut and not in the brain. So this is why, for example, you feel butterflies in your belly, and this is the reason for your gut instinct. This is why we call the gut the second brain. Also, about 50% of all dopamine is produced in the gut and not the brain. And of course, dopamine is all the neurotransmitter that allows for pleasure, satisfaction, motivation, and these things. And of course, the serotonin was the neurotransmitter that allows for the feel good, uh, calm, balanced, and happy mind, right? So I could go on with all the examples of how deeply interconnected our body is and how much the gut, for example, influences the mind. But in all, we see a clear picture emerging here. And what we see is that what we eat directly influences the balance of neurotransmitters produced, which directly influences our mood and state of mind. So you can, in fact, eat yourself into a depression, anxiety, or any other psychological disorder. Next, what we gotta look into is what separates the brain from the rest of the body. Because the brain is actually separated from the rest of the body. And this is very important because the brain and its neurons needs very specific nutrients and treatment. Something that is the job of the cerebral fluid. So the brain is separated from the rest of the body by what is known as the blood-brain barrier. And this is a very thin barrier of epithelial cells, just one cell layer thick, really. And so this barrier is very important because what it does is that it leaves out blood and impurities and only lets through what the brain commands that it needs. So it's extremely important that this barrier maintains intact. Then, behind the blood brain barrier, the cerebral fluid transports the nutrients to the neurons and sensitive cells while getting rid of the metabolic waste. So, why am I mentioning this? Well, because just as we can have a leaky gut, we can also have a leaky brain. This is a major issue and happens if the blood brain barrier gets leaky, meaning that the epithelial cells refuse to stick together, that the holes are created in this barrier. So now suddenly the barrier gets leaky, meaning that blood and impurities can freely flow in and out through this barrier and disturb the circulation in the brain and what gets delivered to these very important brain cells and neurons. So, of course, this shouldn't happen, but it do happen more and more often in our modern setting. And why is that? Well, as you can see here, all of the major causes of a leaky brain are directly influenced by our lifestyle. And typically, this is something that happens in the following the standard American diet and living, right? And that is basically, I know we call it American, but everything that originates in America gets transported to the rest of the world. And as well, it has been with the lifestyle. We also eat canned foods, we eat fast foods, we have a sedentary life, working at offices, a drive from the car to even just the smallest of destinations. So this is happening in Europe as well. It's happening in Southern America as well. It's happening in China as well. We are all living what we term the standard American lifestyle. The point is that our modern environment is a deep threat to the integrity of our blood brain barrier and intestinal lining. So, as you can see, we simply just have to be much more aware about our physical health and well being today than our ancestors had to do it many years before us because, well, our modern setting just really lies in contrast to what our body needs to express health. Another reason as to why the gut and the brain are so interconnected is because we have a wandering nerve that wanders all the way from the brainstem and down our spine to connect with the gut. And in fact, so this is the vagus nerve that I'm talking about. Vagus meaning wandering because it wanders throughout the body. And in fact, the vagus nerve doesn't just connect to the gut. it actually connects the brain to all of the body's organ systems: the heart, the spleen, the lungs, the kidney, etc. So we can see that we are one conscious being made of billions of interconnected parts acting as a whole. And of course, the health and well being of each of these independent parts does play a major role in the state of the whole being. And the mind, right? Actually, it's the balance between our major organ systems and their signals to the vagus nerve that goes into the brain that to a large extent dictates our mood and emotional state. So then, mindfulness and spiritual development becomes something much larger than just having a meditational practice. Actually, it becomes about nursing and optimizing the body as a whole. Look, we know this from all the ancient spiritual traditions. They all emphasized rightful nutrition and lifestyle factors to play a huge part in our spiritual development. All the major books have some kind of recommendation for how to put together your diet and how to live your life in the most healthy way. The problem, of course, is that in today's environment, those practices just don't hold up. We need something more than that because our veggies are far too nutrient devoid due to our farming practices, how we have depleted the soil, and how we grow these crops without taking care of them so that they become full of nutrients. Our meat, of course, is also largely toxic the way we feed cattle and put them in these small boxes. And well, do I have to mention that chemicals are just free flowing everywhere? And if we get sick and get diseased by chemicals, our plants and our animals do as well. And of course, all the added chemicals into the cans of soup and all the other canned products that we buy out there. And I mean, our lifestyle, right? Where we sit in boxes and sit down from a very young age in school all the way till we wither away and die and get old. So the modern setting that we live in today simply just demands of us that we acquire the knowledge we need to learn how to navigate, live, and thrive in this new environment. And that knowledge which you will need to realize thriving health in this modern environment is what we will dive into in my next video. And brother, if you haven't already, then be sure to leave me your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this presentation here today. I'll be super happy to hear your thoughts and share my thought process with you down there in the comments below. So throw me a comment, smash that subscribe button, give me a like, and all the love and cheer to you as well, my brother.